Lord, I hear of showers of blessings, that thou art scattering full and free. Let some drops now fall on me. A good morning. What a pleasure it is to be here. Now I know that the name of this church does not begin with a vowel and the CH isn't silent, but it's good to be at the Chevy Chase Presbyterian Church. A church I have admired from the outside and have been now welcomed to the inside, and it is a joy to be here. To your pastor, Pastor Molly, I see why you come here every Sunday, for she makes you feel as if you've been a lifelong friend, and that I can take witness to, and she has good religion and good theology, and does Presbyterian Church and Union Theological Seminary great joy. So I'm glad to formally seal my friendship with your pastor, Pastor Miley. To your elder, Jim Simpson, who's someone I've admired his work from a distance, who finds himself at Georgetown. We were secluded a week ago at a retreat, and he did a wonderful job of bringing faith leaders from around the country together, and I just want to applaud his work on this day. And your children, your wonderful children. I was happy to listen to them pray and to know that these young bishop buddies could ask for grace, and they don't need to apologize ever for sending up prayers for grace. For grace is what we all need. It's the key to the kingdom. And we're all eligible for God's amazing grace. Now, I must admit that I'm kind of envious somewhat of next week's speaker. I mean, I love a good communion, but y'all serving lunch next week. I may have to send Uber this way to pick up my package and bring it to wherever I am. But truly, this is a wonderful church. And now, faith, hope, and love abide. These three, faith, love, hope. And the greatest of these is love. I want to talk about God's greatest gift. Siblings, we gather today in a time of great urgency. The world around us feels divided, our community strained, our church is lost, our very sense of shared humanity is under attack. We live in a time when walls are being built, where bridges should stand. We live in a time when fear speaks louder than faith and hate marches louder than hope. We live a time when tragedies, diversity, equity, and inclusion are being blamed for tragedies. We live in a time when folk, instead of unifying us and looking for unification, are being vindictive. Yes, we live at a time when our deepest values, justice, mercy, and love, are being tested in ways we have not seen in generations. And so the question before us today is not an abstract one. It is a question that demands an answer. How do we build community, especially in a time like this? It's the same question that burdened the prophets. It is the same question that Paul answers in this letter for the Corinthians when he declares, "And now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love." Paul is reminding us that love is just not an idea, that love is not just a word, a contest to see who says it first, that love is not a passive wish to unity. No, love, real love, true love, is the foundation of real community. Love is God's greatest gift. And it's through this gift that we must build the kind of world that God intends. Paul does not ease into this truth. He declares it boldly. "If I speak in tongues of men, of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal." Paul is saying here that it's not about eloquence, intonation, or the smoothness of one's words or one's voice. No, Paul is saying that knowledge without love is arrogance, that faith without love is empty. And yet, in our time, we are seeing noise replacing wisdom. We see attacks on diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is nothing more than resegregation. In our schools, our workplaces, efforts meant to bring us closer together, now under siege by forces that seek to divide you and me. We see immigrants being demonized, families torn apart, asylum seekers treated as threats rather than as children of God. We see the rise of white Christian nationalism and ideology that distorts the gospel into a tool for exclusion rather than a call to love all God's children. And these forces are loud, my friends. They speak with the volume of legislative power, with the amplification of certain media, with the arrogance of those who claim righteousness while turning their backs on the least of these. But Paul reminds us that without love, all of this is just clanging cymbals and hollow sounds. It may sound powerful. It may get you a lot of followers and get you a lot of likes on your social media platform. It may get you certain followers and a certain crowd, but it carries no substance. It may be loud, Baptist loud, but it's not of God. Everybody talking about heaven ain't going there. Dr. King spoke of the beloved community, a world built not on domination but on reconciliation, a world where love reigns over hate, where justice overcomes injustice, where all God's children can sit at the same table and call one another brother, sister, family, or sibling, or by their selected pronoun. If we are to build this community, then love must be our foundation, not an occasional act, not an abstract idea, but the very structure upon which we stand. And Paul does not just tell us that love is essential. He shows us what love looks like. Listen to him again. Love, he says, is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. William Sloane Coffin said, "There's no smaller package than someone wrapped all up in themselves." Paul is not describing love as a sentiment. He's describing love as a practice. Make love your aim, William Sloane Coffin says. Make love your aim. This is a love that moves, a love that acts, a love that transforms. Community is not built with good intentions alone. It is built by love in action. And yet, in this time, of all the things to fight against, love is under attack. When books are banned that tell the full history of our nation, love is under attack. When you issue statements that say that certain government entities cannot celebrate Black History Month, love is under attack. When policies roll back efforts to dismantle discrimination, love is under attack. And when leaders scapegoat the most vulnerable, our LGBTQ plus siblings, our important neighbors, our communities of color, love is under attack. And when folk began to try to divide you and I, love is under attack. Think about the civil rights movement. It was not just about policy changes. It was about people choosing to love in action. A lot has been said that one of the turning moments of the movement was the ability to broadcast around the world exactly what was happening in some of our southern states and cities. That police and the dogs are being unleashed on those civil rights marchers. But it wasn't just the showing of these images, it was what these images did. That people here in our country and people around the world saw something they did not think they would ever see. And that caused something to well up in them. It hit that button called love. I'm a proponent of love. I know you can't legislate love, but I do know that love can change people. It can change your hearts. It can change your mind. And love is our superpower. It was about marching for justice when it was easier to stay silent. It was about enduring hatred with dignity when it was easier to retaliate. It was about believing that love was greater than fear, greater than division, and greater than oppression. If it was greater then, it's greater now. We cannot lose with love. I'm going to stick with love because hate is too much of a burden to bear. I'm going with love because when nothing else could help, love lifted me. Love looks like defending the rights of those pushed to the margin. Love looks like standing up for truth when truth is silenced. Love looks like working to make a community where all are welcome, where all are valued, and where all are seen as reflections of the divine. And if we're serious about this thing, if we're doing more than just coming to church because it's Sunday, there's communion or there's lunch, then we must do more. And if we want to build community, we must move beyond words to deeds. We must love in ways that transform not only others, but ourselves. And notice I said we. We're all in this together. We, you and I, step by step, arm in arm. We, the path forward is together. And Paul reminds us that while other gifts may fade, love endures. Christmas is only 2 months away ago. It seems like forever, seeing as we're in the second week of the year, but it seems like the first week was a long year. But we know that some things will fade, but other things will not. Love never fails. And now, these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. Faith and hope, they're vital. But love is eternal. Faith points us to God, Hope sustains us through the struggle, but love binds us together now and forever. Love does not waver when the winds of adversity blow. Love does not dissolve when circumstances change. Love does not fail when all else does. And let me tell you something. No executive order can erase love. No political movement can suppress love. No red hat can cover love. No false gospel of exclusion can destroy the true gospel of love. The attacks we see in our society and DEI and immigrants on history itself, these are storms. But I'm so glad that storms don't last forever. And though the storms of life keep raging, my soul has been anchored in the Lord. And so we know the storms don't last, but the love of God endures. The love of community prevails. The love that builds bridges will outlast the hate that builds walls or never builds walls. Yes, it's still true. There's more that unites us than divides us. All siblings, God's greatest gift. It is love. A love that binds us together when the world tries to tear us apart. A love that transforms our hearts and our communities. A love that endures beyond time, beyond history, and beyond eternity itself. I heard Marty Babcock say this: we are not here to play, to dream or to drift. We got work to do and loads to lift. Shun not the struggle. 'Tis God's gift. Be strong. We have one assignment as a church of God. We have one thing that we must and we need to do, and that is, no matter how difficult it may be and how broad the challenge, that you and I must continue to try to make love our aim, to keep on loving. How do we build community? Especially in a time like this, we build it with love. Let us love in our words, building bridges. Let us love in our actions, showing kindness and patience. And let us love in ways that endure, creating a community that reflects the very heart of God. For all God's gift, the greatest is love. And if we pursue the path of love, we'll be one step closer to the beloved community that Dr. King dreamed of, that Paul preached about, that Jesus Christ died to make real, and that our children deserve. And the greatest of these is love. The church's superpower, our hope, our map out of this nonsense, our light in the midst of the darkness, our joy in the midst of sorrow, the balm for all of our pain, the cure for that which ails us, the richness for our poverty. Make love your aim. Amen.